Hello, podcastlers, and welcome to a hasty episode of the NHC Podcast. I am joined today by Armin.
Hey.
Kalamako.
Hello.
And that's it. It's the three of us. But this is taking the slot of Sunday's expected episode because we've got some pretty huge news to cover. One of the biggest dinosaur papers of the year so far, if I say so myself. Don't know why I went with that
It's big in one way.
Yeah. Well, it's Kem Kem, so everything's going to be big in that one. And yeah, obviously, I assume or hope most of you have already heard about this. If you've been on any social media, with paleontology, you probably have. That Ibrahim et al., lots of authors on this one, published an open access monograph, which in itself is a miracle. And what it is it's just an entire write-up on the geology and paleontology of the Kem Kem Group, which has a lot of implications for the fauna. Is a really nice addressing of several issues that have come up over the past decade with regards to Kem Kem fauna, and also finally clarifies the Kem Kem Group's stratigraphy, splitting into two formations and outlining what's known from each formation. So that's very nice as well. So today's episode is really just for us to discuss this and, go over what it finds, share our thoughts, and share, of course, the many responses some of the more controversial actions of the paper have garnered, notably on Twitter. This will be an audio-only podcast, is our aim with this one. So without further ado, shall we get into this?
Yes, I'm ready.
So, starting off, we'll discuss the stratigraphy of the Kem Kem Group, which is finally outlined, which is that it has been split into two formations that I struggle to pronounce. It's Garas-Bar, I think, is one of them. Garas-Bar Formation is the lower unit of the Kem Kem Group rocks. And and the fauna is primarily Deltadromeus and Raptors. These are where the holotypic skeletons are found. And then you also have tooth remains of Onchopristis, Spinosaurus, and Carcharodontosaurus, which, as we'll discuss in a moment, are better preserved in the overlying Duira formation. So interestingly, it seems to show that there was actually overlap between the formations, at least downwards. We don't have remains of Deltadromeus and Raptors, I think, in the overlying formation, but Garas-Bar formation seems to preserve a mix of taxa. And the Duira formation is the overlying one, which has the better preserved remains of Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus, including, I believe, the neotype is there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Quite brief, my covering of it, but this is largely the breakdown of it, the summary, conclusion. So then we go on to their discussion of different taxa. Armin, do you want to summarize what they concluded about the crocodiles, roughly? Since that's
The more standard quote-unquote, the one I found most interesting was regarding Stomatosuchidae and Egyptosuchidae, which are, if you know Stomatosuchus and Leganosuchus, these flat-headed, people like to call them whale crocodiles sometimes. Just these massive flat heads, but the pancake croc in this case of Leganosuchus, which is actually from Kem Kem. Stomatosuchus being Egyptian, so not from this from any of these formations.
Which one is Leganosuchus? Is it Stomatosuchid or Egyptosuchid?
Basically, Leganosuchus is a Stomatosuchid. It's the pancake croc popularized by Paul Serino alongside Rupisuchus retoidis, Veganeri, and Caprosuchus, of course. Even though they are from different formations, but they're all popularized around the same time with all these nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is that it's basically the idea is brought up that Egyptosuchus and Stomatosuchus might be the same animal. It's not. They don't take a conclusive statement on this. In part also because Stomatosuchus was destroyed, sadly, alongside the Spinosaurus holotype.
Yeah, that's going to be a recurring theme.
And yeah, and it basically suggests the idea that perhaps they are the same animals. Like that you could also, if you were to find more complete fossils of Aegisuchus, which is only known from a brain case from the Kem Kem, that it might turn out to be the same as Laganosuchus, which in turn is only known from jaw fragments. As far as I'm aware, might be wrong, but we certainly don't have a brain case of Laganosuchus. So we can't lump them, but the idea is certainly brought up. Further fossils will have to show more light on how this will continue. But this would essentially this would essentially render Egyptosuchidae pointless.
Right.
Again, if we find more fossils of it and can actually make a conclusive statement. So it's just kind of fun speculation.
No. Other than that, anything interesting for the crocs or not?
Well, the rest...
Just an overview.
Just an overview, I would say. Some stuff on Elosuchus, which is a relative of Sarcosuchus, some Notosuchians, a little bit of Arapahosuchus.
I mean, there are obviously also the SVP 2019, where Sereno mentions quite a few new Kem Kem crocs. Did he not?
Definitely excited.
We might be, but we wait for those. That's not touched upon in this one. Pterosaurs are also mentioned in this paper, but there's not really many new developments. What is nice is that they managed to discuss Aphrodapajara and Apatoramphus, which were published earlier this year. So it's quite nice how they managed to fit them in there. Aphrodapajara just gets a sentence as a shout out, but Apatoramphus gets a full 3 paragraphs discussing it, where they just concur that it's just a Cheironopterid in debt in terms of its placement. Inserte sedis, because it could even be Thalassodromeid. Possibly. There's no way of disproving that. And then what do we move on to? Shall we move on to the theropods now, and then save sauropods and ornithopods for later?
I mean, we could do the sauropods and Furiophorans right now and leave the theropods for last.
Sure, the biggest ones, arguably.
Drag it out so people have to watch more of us.
Or just skip the episode long enough that they're like, oh. I mean, you can't do that. We'll know if you do that.
Yeah.
We'll just drop a secret phrase somewhere in the middle.
Near the end, we start discussing the Tyrannosaur remains of Kem Kem, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Yes. Anyways, yeah. Thyreophoran. This is just a tooth. What most interesting? Yeah, but it's not named. But what's interesting is that it resembles Scelidosaurus in terms of morphology.
I mean, it's interesting just on the fact it's a Kem Kem Thyreophoran on its own.
True, that too.
Like, just for those that aren't as familiar with the term, Thyreophorans are basically Ankylosaurs, Nodosaurs, and Stegosaurs. Just that sort of grouped together is Thyreophora plus Scelidosaurus and Scutellosaurus, which are the more basal guys.
Oof, I did a goofus there. It's not similar to Scelidosaurus, it's similar to Scutellosaurus. Scutellosaurus, yes, my bad.
It's still one of the basal guys, so still pretty interesting.
They're all the same.
It's gonna be interesting if we find more of it and what it's actually gonna turn out to be.
Yeah.
Because the idea is just that late surviving Scutellosaurus is certainly a little bit ridiculous.
The only other ornithischian remains is a large footprint from the Kem Kem, which is probably an iguanodontian.
Of course it is.
Yeah. I mean, that one's not as big a deal.
But yeah, for Thyreophoran, gonna be interesting what it actually turns out to be.
Yeah.
Do we have any African ankylosaurs? like at all?
I don't think we have any confirmed remains, no.
So,
Or well, yeah, I mean we do have Stegosaurus, but not that late, at least I believe.
oh yeah, of course, Stegosaurus. But I mean, tentatively speaking, Stegosaurus seems a little bit more likely.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we have them on the continent, even if prior to that. But I mean, it would be interesting either way. So
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Onto sauropods now. Rabatrosaurus doesn't have really much big news, but there's a lot of interesting titanosaur remains that are touched upon. For instance, there's an ulna from the Duira Formation. It's very partial, it's just the proximal end, but its width is 51 centimeters, which compares to 52 centimeters in Patagotitan. So this is probably a huge sauropod, twice as wide as a comparable part in Camarasaurus, and it appears to be related. It resembles the Indian Titanosaur Isosaurus.
oh, my favorite name.
Yeah. Woo.
It certainly didn't age well.
I don't know what you mean, the Indian Institute of Science or
Sorry, Indian Statistical Institute.
Oh, that's the one. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if it is. Curious because Isosaurus also has the very long forelimbs, so curious to see. But it'd be interesting to like scale one. But sadly, there's also like no good skeletals. But if you're watching this episode, make an Isosaurus skeletal so we can compare it. Also, it's a cool taxon with osteoderms and all that.
Please do it.
Yeah, and I think we also have some other sauropod remains that are also found a very large size in Africa that they mention. I'm going to try and find now, but because they were quite thrown about. I remember the sauropod. Was it humerus? I think. Yes, there's a humerus of a large sauropod that's 25 centimeters at the narrowest portion of its shaft in the Garas Ba, which also compares favorably to Patagotitan, being around the same size, as is also a proximal end of another ulna, which is also 54 centimeters across. So there's several scattered remains indicating at least one very large sauropod, probably Titanosaur, in the Kem Kem. Which oh god, Craig is flickering. That's scary.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'm very hopeful that we'll get something better preserved of sauropods, and it'd be interesting to add to the ecosystem. Oh, we've been putting it long enough. Shall we go on to Spinosaurus now?
Let's do it.
Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
Spinosaurus, our drama queen.
Yes.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
Spinosaurus. We all know about Spinosaurus and the neotype and what's happened with it. So first of all, an interesting non-controversial news is that they have made the claim that actually the Spinosaurus holotype was partly articulated in the field. That several parts of the bones were articulated, so that's quite nice to know. Generally, I think claims of it being chimeric are dying out, which is good as well. There was also histology, but that is only known from an SVP abstract. I don't believe they touch upon it in this paper. Histology finding it to be mature. But yeah. What is annoying, and has been pointed out, is that their skeletal reconstruction of Spinosaurus, based on Ibrahim et al. 2014, does not show which parts of the bone are preserved. Which parts of the skeleton are preserved.
All grey.
White. Not grey.
White?
It's all white. No. The skeletal of the Spinosaurus aegyptiasis is all white. Another thing that's very annoying, which you'll notice, is that the Deltadromeus skeletal, the preserved parts are in white, and the Carcharodontosaurus skeletal, the preserved parts are in grey.
It's just a slight little thing that just hurts.
Yeah.
Why must you do this to us?
Yeah, so they kind of clap back at Evers et al. 2015, saying that it might be chimeric, and then they go on to mention the African equivalent to Nanotyrannus, that is Sigilmastosaurus.
Oh boy, Sigilmastosaurus.
Um,
what pain you cause, you wretched beast of a dinosaur.
The vertebra, everyone's favorite. The summary of what their stance is that there's only Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. They kill off. They take the stance that Spinosaurus moroccanus and Sigilmastosaurus are not preserved enough to be cannot be diagnosed as distinct, and are almost definitely specimens of Spinosaurus aegyptiacus.
So yeah, this is gonna last for like a few months until someone just argues the opposite again.
Probably.
It's gonna happen. I think there's already a paper that's going to come out soon about that.
Yeah, I mean, Holtz teased the Spinosaurus paper a few months back. I'd be interested in asking him whether or not he was referring to this one or if there's another one. Also, however, what we do know is that there's an Ichthyovenator paper in the works on new remains that directly involves Sigilmastosaurus because it has good neck vertebrae, which Sigilmastosaurus is known from. And yeah, so that one apparently argues for Sigilmastosaurus being distinct according to the abstract. But then this paper says, let me scroll down to the Sigilmastosaurus bit. This paper says that actually Ichthyovenator's remains support the mix, the lumping. They also argue that they bring up a Suchomimus neck, which is very nice, an articulated neck of Suchomimus, which is finally figured. I don't believe it's been figured before. Very nice, as evidence for it being for Sigilmastosaurus being distinct. Sorry, for Sigilmastosaurus lumping. And the interesting thing is, Evers et al. Have said on Twitter that they were denied access to the Suchomimus because they wanted to use it to support their case. So, drama. Personally, I kind of buy into Ibrahim et al.'s claims in this one. Obviously, the Suchomimus is a Sereno specimen. I believe, just getting that out. I buy into Ibrahim's claims personally. I do feel that diagnosing an entire species on a vertebra that does not overlap with Spinosaurus's remains.
I agree.
Sketchy, because there is variation, as they claim the Suchomimus one shows, in morphology, and it's not just the same. So
it's horrible remains, really. So
yeah. What do you think?
It's always annoying because this is horrible remains because you end up in a situation where like you can't really disprove it because it just doesn't match with everything else that is known because it's just such a tiny fragment of it.
Yeah. What do you think, Cal? Are you?
Since it's so, I'm just kind of on the fence about it at the moment. There's not really enough to make a good case for either side.
True. Yeah.
So I'll just go with Ibrahim and Spinosaurus.
Yeah. That's it. Was there anything else about Sigilmastosaurus? No, I think that's really it. They just say no. Sigilmastosaurus doesn't really exist as a thing.
No Sigilmastosaurus, no Spinosaurus moroccanus. Just
Spinosaurus B is just another specimen of S. aegyptiacus as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, this bit's really funny. So, when we're talking about Sigilmastosaurus and its validity, we mainly refer to Evers et al.'s 2015 paper, where they argue, based on morphology, that there is the smaller morph, say that one of the smaller remain that Sigilmastosaurus is a smaller, possibly sailless, or with limited sail, Spinosaurine living in the same area as Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. Almost said Moroccanus there. Oof. So that's their interpretation of Sigilmastosaurus. However, we haven't mentioned Arden et al.'s 2019, or was it 2018, where they mention the fucking frontals, where they go robust more. Let's see. Let me just find Arden et al. 2019, where they described 2 frontal morphs, and they argued that the first one is S. aegyptiacus and the second one is Sigilmasosaurus brevicollis, and they split Spinosaurus into these 2 taxa based on size, where they argued that all of the large and robust ones are Sigilmasosaurus. And this paper points out that both of the frontals aren't actually Spinosaurid. They're both. One of them is just indeterminate, and the other one's a Carcharodontosaurus.
Wow.
So yeah, Arden et al. 2019. Thankfully, their paper is dead in the water. No shame, of course. No, nothing direct at the authors. Just that was a bit of a messy paper, and
Just
that
a bit
one's being cleared up
unfortunate.
at least. Yeah. So that's it. And shall we move on to, since we mentioned Carcharodontosaurus, shall we move on to Sauroniops?
Yes, one of the things I'm most happy about.
Yeah, another taxa based on fucking shitty remains. Let's be honest. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Andrea.
at least this one's skull remain, which is slightly more diagnostic than vertebra, and at least this one does overlap with Carcharodontosaurus.
Yeah.
So already
Yeah,
2 points better
small-
than Sigilmasosaurus.
Small thing, but
A small improvement, but still.
Yeah. Where to start? So, Sauroniops, described by Andrea Cow in 2012, based on a commercially
named after
collected
the,
left frontal. Named after, yes, go for it.
of course, Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Because hey, we've got part of the eye and the eye of Sauron. Hey, yeah.
It's crazy because Sauron is an eye.
Yes.
In the book.
So
at that
he
point in
used
time,
to
the
not
book
be an
was
eye, but now he is an eye because it's the eye of Sauron.
true.
Also,
yeah.
the mouth of Sauron isn't actually Sauron; it's just a name. But the eye of Sauron is actually Sauron.
Hold up. This has turned into a different podcast now. This is a Lord of the Rings podcast now. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. So Sauron
get this.
about 60% the size of the frontal in Carcharodontosaurus' whole type and neotype. And Ibrahim and Al basically say they're not convinced by the diagnostic features given. Basically arguing that the articular facet and all that is different, which it is. But they just they discard it. And while I can kind of get why you would discard it because it's terrible remains, Cow has already clapped back on Twitter because, of course, arguing that actually it is diagnostic and that they don't really make a case against it. Personally,
so, how long until he just pumps out another rebuttal paper like with Hellscaraptor?
Yeah, I give him a few months maybe because of the whole situation.
I give him 3 weeks.
I'm gonna say a good 5.
Yeah. Well, we've placed our bets. We'll see you guys in 5 weeks then to see.
Well, first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Gonna see us in that time anyways.
True.
Yeah.
But
they argue that Sauroniops shouldn't be valid and it's just Carcharodontosaurus. Cow argues otherwise. That's why we shouldn't name taxa after bloody small bits of bone.
Yeah.
But that's just the way. Remember the tooth taxon.
Carcharodontosaurus maxilla is crying inside. Thank you, Armin. But
I can't complain. My avatar, my profile picture is based on a nearly complete skull.
Shut the fuck up.
Get out of here.
And Kel is just a dick worm.
Yeah. But there are brain cases of stem Sicilians, so I mean, don't mean to flex.
Fan of Sicilianator.
Okay.
Personally, I will say I'm not as convinced with Ibrahim's argument against Sauroniops, because I don't really see much actual arguing for why it should be lumped, other than I don't like its diagnostic feature. At the same time, I also don't like its diagnostic feature. So I'm 50-50. I'm proper 50-50 on this. I'm just curious to see where this one goes. But I'm not as invested as say with the Spinosaurus one, where I'd
say 50-50. Yeah, I would appreciate better reasoning, but I really want it gone.
Yeah, me too. I hate the name so much. Oh, sorry.
It's just Thanos, but a different kind of nerd.
True.
I guess it's still fucking mainstream. Screw it.
Of course it is. Yeah.
It's just mainstream in a different day and age.
Yeah.
It's 2000s mainstream, not 2010 mainstream.
Yeah, a few years late on that one.
I want a dinosaur to be named James Bond.
Cal, I will strangle you in your sleep.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's the only one I would tolerate. That's the only one I think I'd tolerate.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, sort of on the fence. In this case, it's more on the side.
Yeah. Well, that's really it for Sauroniops. Another pathetic 3 paragraphs for this crappy genus. And I think we come to our last. Well, there's also some dromaeosaurid teeth. That's all right.
Kem Kem Raptor.
No. Let's something better preserved. Let's talk about the only well-preserved thing we've discussed so far, which is Deltadromeus.
Yeah.
Which is the big one. In more ways than one.
Deltadromeus. Oh, you confusing bastard. Didn't we mention him in Make a Raptoran video?
I think we may have. At the very least, Gualicho, probably. Which is also brought up here. Where to start? So, Deltadromeus has been the subject of much drama, initially described as a theropod of, like, Carnosaurian or something affinities.
I think so, yeah.
Which then slowly, gradually shifted towards Ceratosaurian and Noasaurid, which is fully embraced in this new paper by by Ibrahim et al., which is nice. They've changed their stance on something. But also we finally have a fucking fantastic skeletal of it. Like, I really like the skeletal because they finally got around to preparing all of the bones for this paper. Took them long enough. Just 24 years, not long.
Yeah,
but
fast.
it's a long-legged and surprisingly long-armed boy, probably long-necked as well. I would argue it'd probably
based on other Noasaurs, probably, though we don't really have the remains for that.
Yeah.
We have one neck vertebra of it.
We have I think a neck part of a vertebra, like a neck rib or something.
Hang on, I'm looking for the skeletal right now. I'm not gonna post it. No worries.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, paper's open.
Okay,
access.
we have part of a neck rib.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do have nice scapula, humerus. I assume elements are mirrored.
Some toe bone.
Body once toe. Oh. Yeah. We have toe bones. We have legs. And yeah, so you'll also have noticed if you looked at the paper that it's bloody massive now, because they refer a femur to it. That would make it about 14 meters long, minimum, if you scale allometrically. Measuring along the center, you get between 14 and 15 meters. Assuming allometry.
Theropod.
And it's also assuming the typical, the small Noasaur proportions.
Sorry?
It's assuming the proportions of the smaller Noasaurs.
Oh, and also assuming the proportions of Deltadromeus, because the Deltadromeus we have is immature based on vertebral fusion, I believe. The axial column.
I'm just saying we don't know how long the neck would be, for example.
true, but I mean, yeah, we don't get that much change in proportion though, really, with like Nomosaurs that much and Elaphrosaurians. Like, I was looking at Lemursaurus, and also like with ontogeny, they don't change that much in terms of proportion. So like adult Deltadromeus will probably look a bit similar to the subadult Deltadromeus we already have. And considering the long tail, a long neck would also make sense because it does have a bloody long tail as well. Deltadromeus.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the referral issues about it, because once again, ashes from the 1940s come back to haunt us with Bahariosaurus. So in 1934,
Roma.
yeah, basically Bahariosaurus was named a while back. In 1934,
Like
and
80
he
years
designated a holotype composed of some vertebral parts, a rig fragment, proximal ischium, and pubes.
Pubis, you know.
No,
Pubes,
conjoined
yeah,
pubes.
yeah.
Conjoined pubes.
All right.
So-
Please don't say it
Okay.
like
Let's.
As in the pubic
That's not-
boot, I believe. Yeah, that's the one. Now, Ibrahim et al. In this paper point out that the holotype differs in the shape of the iliac peduncle of the ischium and in several details of the pubes from the Moroccan skeleton of Deltadromeus. And therefore, they argue that the Moroccan skeleton cannot be referred to Bahariosaurus ingens, and that therefore then they also regard it as a nomen dubium, which I personally strongly agree with. It's ashes, and it's very limited remains. So this means Deltadromeus and Bahariosaurus are distinct, and the former also happens to be a double nomen dubium, so that's a double whammy. But if Bahariosaurus is a nomen dubium and distinct, where, I hear you ask, is the giant Deltadromeus reconstruction from? That is from an Egyptian femur and several other bones from Egypt that were referred by Stromer to Bahariosaurus despite the lack of any overlapping remains. He just said, big theropod, lanky build, must be Bahariosaurus. So, yeah.
Actually, it's Sigmosaurus B.
Yeah.
No.
And
God.
one of these, the femur, strongly resembles Deltadromeus and is also much, much larger. It's it's 90% as long as T-Rex's femur, around 122 centimeters long. So yeah, linear scaling implies it would have been much, much bigger. So in conclusion, femur and Deltadromeus holotype are the same thing. Bahariosaurus and gens not the same thing as Deltadromeus and by extension the femur, and is probably a nomen dubium. That's what the paper finds. That's what I agree with, and I doubt we'll see it be challenged anytime soon, because unlike Sigmosaurus and all that, Stromer's dead. He's not around to be tweeting about it angrily. So I can see this one being the most concrete of all of the three, like the one that will stand the test of time best, I feel.
Yeah.
So
Loki hoping it turns out to be a giant herbivore in the likes of Dinochirus.
Yes. That's true.
Yeah.
We didn't mention diet. So although the skeletal in the paper has naturally a very small head and what appears to potentially be a bit of a beak at the tip as well, the paper in the text in the conclusion refers to it as a carnivore. They don't refer to it elsewhere. Personally, I find omnivory with probable herbivory in the adult to be the likeliest case, based on the fact that all of the giant long-necked theropods, namely Therizinosaurus, Dinochirus, and Gigantoraptor, are either omnivores in the case of Gigantoraptor, which probably was an omnivore, or full-on herbivores in the case of Therizinosaurus, or omnivores like Dinochirus, because Dinochirus had 8 fish as well. Don't forget that. Bring it back to our NHK documentary.
It would kind of depend whether or not it nests closer with Elaphrosaurans, like Lemusaurus, Elaphrosaurus, or with Noasaurans, like Masiacosaurus.
Shikosaurus.
Yes, whatever. And Vespasaurus.
Indeed. Yeah. But personally, because of size, I would say until its phylogenetic affinities are resolved beyond just Ceratosaurian, probably Noasaurid, I would assume it to be herbivorous, personally. In its adult form, and probably omnivorous to ontogeny, because also even Limosaurus shows omnivory in juveniles and then herbivory in adults. Granted, they also have lots of teeth, which I'm not assuming for Deltadromeus, because you need some solid evidence, I think, to make a claim like that, even though we see it in Limosaurus. But still, I think it's the safest option at the moment is assuming omnivory to herbivory.
Only thing is though that I think Limosaurus and Elaphrosaurus have fairly short arms.
That's true.
Really short arms. So interesting how to see how that.
We don't know how short the hands are on.
Fair enough.
Well,
Still,
I think
still
generally,
comparing the upper arm, for example, proportionally speaking, quite a difference. But again, we really don't know what it is right now.
So also have relatively short arms, so I don't know.
Touché.
Comment on Winklesaurus, but that's a vertebrate. And speaking of Winklesaurus,
don't say anything. And their cow will angrily tweet about it.
Yeah, speaking of that, Winklesaurus totally not juvenile Gualicho with no diagnostic features. Gualicho, including, I assume, Aeoniraptor, which is pretty solidly, I don't think anyone's disputed its lump into... oh, wait, no, I forgot. Andrea Cow disputes that. But Gualicho Chenier, former Megaraptoran, which is now possible, which claded close to Deltadromeus even as a Megaraptoran in the original study, and has been subject of debate since, with Cow finding it to be a basal titanuran, while Aeoniraptor is a noasaurid. According to this paper, Gualicho Chenier and Deltadromeus clade closely resemble each other. The pectoral girdle, the slenderness of the forelimbs, although the length of the humerus differs, the slenderness is similar. The form of the pubis and also the hind limb bones suggest a close relationship. Also, this paper points out that Gualicho actually had 3 fingers, not 2, because enough of the metacarpal 3 is preserved to suggest a third digit was present and functional. Contra Apistagria et al. 2016b. So yeah, this is once again it seems Deltadromeus and Gualicho have claded together solidly, and I think with Deltadromeus now pretty solidly in Noasauridae, I think Gualicho can by extension also be placed in Noasauridae for the most part, and therefore also Aeoniraptor. And this ties back into Winklesaurus, all 3 of which are probably the same taxon. And yeah, Winkle formation's a mess. And yeah, that's Deltadromeus. It's epic. It's surprisingly huge. It's weird. It's probably long-necked, and I really like it. And it's my personal favorite thing of the paper.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely the standout of the whole thing.
Yeah.
No arguing about that.
So yeah, also and present from both Morocco and Egypt, so that's nice as well. Hey boy, long arms. That's weird. I like it. And do we have anything else we particularly want to discuss about the paper? Any other thoughts?
Well, I've got my croc thoughts regarding the stomatosuchids out of the way, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a single possible species of siren from formation.
What?
What?
Oh, salamander.
Something in here. Wait, give me a moment.
No, don't post a picture. No.
No.
Okay,
So,
Sirenid. Right, yeah,
yeah,
go for it. Amphibian, go for it.
Yeah.
Your time to shine. It's a... Why? Sorry. Hold up. Hold the fucking phone. Hold on. They call it a Sirenian in the paper.
Yeah. What?
Not a Sirenid.
A Sirenian. I like that. I kind of like that.
Sirenian, also known as a manatee, is present in the Kem Kem formation, in the Dwira formation of the Kem Kem bed.
Impressive.
Okay.
And
okay.
there's also a part of the paper where it just have Spinosaurus Egyptitrachus.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Typos.
The mysterious
Serino.
threat Spinosaurid of this formation.
You've never forgiven Serino for Caproscuus, have you?
Oh my fucking god! Don't remind me. Come on.
But there are 2 brain cases and a lot of vertebra that are most likely salamanders. And
Sirenian?
yeah, no, they're Saurinians, yeah. And most of it comes from the pond locality, to quote. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know.
I don't know.
But one of the brain cases has a occipital condyle that is pretty similar to the Sudanese genus Cababitia, and it's referred to as Cababitia, which is, I mean, it's fine, but I wouldn't just straight up name it that right away. But it's okay. It's okay. And
Yeah.
unlike the one from Sudan, it seems like it's the only one in the Diora formation. It's interesting.
You remember there is actually something interesting also going on with the fish in the formation.
Oh, the whole Mawsonia.
Mawsonia. A lot of you remember, like, the concept of Spinosaurus hunting Mawsonia is up there with like Spinosaurus hunting Onchopristis. However, the paper says that originally described that the Mawsonia lavacati from the Kem Kem Group is actually a species in the genus Axelrodictis. So it's Axelrodictis lavacati. So it would have grown to body length in excess of 4 meters from Africa and South America, and Mawsonia is no longer present in the Kem Kem beds. So that's
I will have to rename my illustration then.
Yes. And also, just since we're talking about vertebrae and all that, we have a few snake vertebrae, but there's nothing remarkable about those. They're all just fairly moderately sized metzoids or nitrophids and all that.
They're just Cretaceous danger noodles, and that's it.
Yes.
There's also a frog or 2 from Kem Kem. They're all
Also some
Paleoarch has been changed forever.
Yes.
Kem Kem frog.
Some Onchopristis vertebrae. We have. Actually, cool, I think. Teeth, yeah. I mean, teeth aren't that.
Oh. What's up with the sharks? I haven't checked the sharks yet. Oh, look! What a surprise! Hybidus is Hybidus in the formation? Tell me Hybidus is in the formation. Hybidus is not in the formation.
What?
There's other hybidontoids, but.
Oh, okay. Well, no Hybidus.
Sharks.
What?
Let's see, shark. Yeah, hybidontoids. There's isolated teeth and fin spines for 3 genera. The genus Hybodus has yet to be reliably reported among isolated teeth, and diagnostic features are in its teeth and not present. So that's a shame. No Hybodus. There's a Cretoxorinid though. A mackerel shark and a Cretoxorinid. See no Carcharodontosaurus. But that's it. And yeah, anything else of note? I think not.
Okay, I just found the best name out of all of them, which is the fish Serino-Ichthys kemkensis.
Yeah,
That's top
oh my god!
Look, I don't mean to make.
He didn't name it though.
Here.
He didn't name it though.
Oh, what? Oh, never mind.
No, it was by D.B. Dale in 1999. Thankfully, he did not name it after himself.
I mean, yeah, I all things to say, I didn't think that Serino would go that far.
I don't know, man. He already has the dinosaur sex dungeon.
Christ.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, sure, but Serino-Ichthys kemkensis is like it's just. It's just so goddamn on the nose that it's painful. It's like a punch to the face.
We need a new Tyrannosaurus species from Hell Creek to be Carcharodontosaurus Hell Creek.
No.
Exactly my point. It's exactly like that. Like, I mean, honoring Zerino, yeah, sure, go for it. Including Kem Kem in the name, sure, but both combined in such a simplistic way is.
To be fair, Kem Kemensis there's also Dentalippisosteus Kem Kemensis.
But it's just one part of it.
Yeah, and isn't there also isn't Hamadasuchus also Kem Kemensis?
Hang on.
I'm pretty sure Hamadasuchus.
Kem Kem.
Oh no.
Shut up.
No, it's not.
Sirenoraptor Kem Kemensis. Yeah, it's Riboli. It's
Okay,
Hamadasuchus Riboli.
Okay, that's good. But there is Kem Kemia.
I forgot what the.
I meant Kem Kemia.
No, I didn't.
But it's literally in the fucking name. Kem Kemia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a nomen dubium, that's why.
Nomen dubium. Neotheropod.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. Great paper. Feel free to check it out. It's all open access, which is nice. Some of the fossil remains, pictures, and the skeletal of Deltadromeus has to be seen.
The Zucomama spine is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, true. The neck.
The neck, yeah. Good stuff to look at.
Indeed. Alright, well, I think we'll wrap it up here then. So, thank you all for listening and sticking with us to the end. Yeah. That's it. I'm wondering whether or not we should address the Kem Kem Tyrannosaur we teased earlier, but we'll mention that one in another episode.
Joke's on you.
Embargoed.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
And we hope you enjoyed this surprise episode on a new paper, and let us know as well if you enjoyed the audio only format, and that's something that might be interesting to see more of going forward, depending on whether or not you liked it.
Yeah, he's just too lazy to edit.
The fuck up.
Yeah.
Make it easier for you when I resign.
But if this becomes more popular, we could definitely put it on, if it gets popular enough, Spotify or the Apple Podcasts.
Indeed, as an alternative to our movie
YouTube.
watching and all that, which I think we're gonna have to admit we're gonna continue watching more bad movies, aren't we, Armin?
I'm never gonna stop.
I need to be there for some of those bad movies.
Yeah, we'll start opening it up as well to more members. And
Yes.
so let us know what you thought, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye-bye.